My son-in-law was cheating on my daughter. My daughter was a sobbing mess, demanding a divorce. Then she turned to me and asked if I was leaving my husband, too. Without a second thought, I said, hell yes. After all, she's my only baby girl. I'm counting on her to take care of me in my old age. Men aren't worth a damn. It was my daughter who schemed her way into marrying an heir, and then immediately played matchmaker to get me hitched to the heir's tycoon father. Somehow, at over 50 years old, I'd married into money and become a society wife. So now that she wanted a divorce, it was only natural for me to follow suit. Who would have thought the silver-haired tycoon would put out a city-wide bulletin looking for me? That useless stepson of mine had it coming, but I never did anything to wrong you. You are not leaving me. My son-in-law's old flame, Jennifer, came back to the country and started stirring up trouble. In a fit of anger, my daughter slipped in the bathroom, had a fall, and lost the baby. I walked into the hospital room with chicken soup and flowers, and she turned her pale little face toward me. Mom, she said pitifully, I'm divorcing Brandon. Are you coming with me? Seeing her so weak and broken, my heart ached for her. Of course, I said, my voice firm. If you're leaving, Mom is right there with you. My daughter nodded, relieved. Okay, grab everything valuable. I'll have someone draw up 2 sets of divorce papers. I hesitated. The most valuable thing I owned was the small villa the silver-haired tycoon had just bought for me. It was the first time in my life I'd ever experienced the thrill of an older man spoiling me with his money. I was so excited I couldn't sleep last night. My daughter's father was a dirt-poor gambling addict. I married him when I was young and never had a single day of peace. He had no money but was hooked on gambling. When he lost, he'd come home drunk and beat me. He broke my ribs, my skull, you name it. I scrimped and saved, working as a maid, and finally managed to put my daughter through school. Then, her dad suddenly died of a heart attack. It was like a prayer had been answered. Kids from poor families grow up fast, and my daughter was incredibly driven. She'd never even been in a relationship, but in college, she somehow managed to snag a rich kid, Brandon. She successfully pushed his old flame out of the picture. After graduation, she became the young Mrs. Harrison. She always had a soft spot for me, and once she was living the high life, she didn't forget to bring me into the fold. She set me up with Brandon's tycoon father. The two of us teamed up and managed to drive away his dad's longtime female confidant. From my early years as a maid, I was an expert at reading my employers. I could give massages, brew the perfect tea, and cook all sorts of delicious food. I managed to tame that grumpy old codger, Mr. Harrison, until he was eating out of the palm of my hand. And just like that, I married into the family and became a wealthy wife. He gave me expensive jewelry, clothes, and bags, but I didn't care for any of it. At my age, what was the point of all that vanity? But the villa, I loved the villa. When I was young, my daughter's father and I were practically homeless. When we couldn't afford rent, we lived in a straw hut. In the winter, it was freezing cold, and my hands were covered in frostbite. When it rained hard in the summer, the roof would leak, soaking our blankets. It was beyond miserable. I dreamed of owning a home in my own name. But I never imagined that just as Mr. Harrison bought a villa for me, my daughter would decide to get a divorce. Damn that son-in-law of mine. He could have cheated any other time, but he had to pick right now. He always seemed so put together and was usually good to my daughter. But this time, after Ashley slipped and miscarried, he hadn't even shown his face. I was furious, too. A divorce it is, then. If I don't stand up for my own daughter, who will? I was an orphan from a young age. My adoptive mother took me from the orphanage. She couldn't have children of her own. She raised me until I was 9, then suddenly got pregnant and had 3 sons. I became the family maid, doing every chore imaginable. When I was 16, my adoptive mother married me off for $500. I ran away, but I was caught and beaten. Later, I got pregnant and had my daughter. After she was born, I couldn't bear to run away again. For her, I could endure any amount of suffering. In this whole world, she was the only person who was truly mine. I still remember when she was 9, she tried to stand between me and her father to stop him from hitting me. He slapped her so hard he perforated her eardrum, and she hit her forehead on the corner of a table. Later, in high school, she'd save the chicken leg from her school lunch and sneak it to me in the evening. "Mom, I don't like chicken legs," she'd always say. But I knew she loved them. She just saw me eating nothing but pickled vegetables at every meal and felt sorry for me. Before her college entrance exams, she was so nervous she came down with a high fever, muttering in her sleep, "Mom, I'm going to get into a good university. One day, I'll make sure you live like a queen." I thought it was just childish talk. But who knew she would actually make it happen? Ashley was a natural beauty. In high school, countless boys chased after her. Her desk drawer was constantly stuffed with love letters, and boys would call the house for her. But she always kept to herself and never got involved with any of them. I always thought it was because of my bad relationship with her father that she was disillusioned with love. But then, once she got to college, she started actively pursuing a rich kid. She had her own plan. "Mom, all men are the same," she told me. "I'm going to find a rich one and give you a good life." She set her sights on Brandon. She came up with all sorts of schemes to get his attention. Finally, after a club event at a karaoke bar, she drank some liquid courage and gambled her virginity to get him. I tried to talk her out of it. I hoped she would find a man who truly loved her. But my daughter was clear-eyed about the world. And she won her bet, marrying the heir. The wedding was incredibly lavish. She was breathtakingly beautiful in her $1 million wedding dress. I cried several times. Relatives who used to look down on us were suddenly seeing us in a new light. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law even came all the way from out of town. They told me I had raised a good daughter. That day, Ashley had the makeup artist doll me up, too. Then she pushed me, all made up, in front of her silver-haired tycoon of a father-in-law. "Dad, this is the person I've told you so much about." She praised me for being dignified and kind, and for being a fantastic cook. At the time, I had no idea she was trying to set me up with her father-in-law. I just made polite small talk. A man that rich has seen every kind of woman. Why would he ever be interested in me? But my daughter was determined to play Cupid. She did everything she could to find out her tycoon father-in-law's likes and dislikes. When there was a family dinner, I'd try to get out of it by pretending to be sick. But she would stuff me into a couture dress. She'd tell the old man how down-to-earth and frugal I was in private, with no bad habits, and how I loved to take care of people. Thanks to my daughter's efforts, my father-in-law and I started to see each other in a better light. Later, the tycoon started sending flowers and formally courting me. I opened my heart, and in my golden years, I found a second spring and we had a whirlwind wedding. On the day we got our marriage license, my daughter cried tears of joy. "Mom, you deserve the best." But my son-in-law, Brandon, looked anything but happy. He never imagined his mother-in-law would seduce his stepfather. Brandon also had a clever mother, who had been Harrison's previous partner. She fell gravely ill 5 years ago, and before she died, she had her son's last name changed. Harrison and Brandon, hearing the names, you'd think they were father and son. The tycoon had no biological children. He'd poured all his energy into his career. His first wife, lonely and depressed, ran off with the butler and died in a car accident. Everyone said Harrison was cursed to lose his wives. But I didn't see it that way. The grumpier the old codger, the more he needs a gentle touch. My daughter said I just had to hang in there, wait for him to kick the bucket, and then I'd inherit his fortune and be worth billions. But after we got married, I actually fell in love with him. When he'd fly into a rage because an employee messed up, throwing things around, would sit him down, give him a massage, and tell him not to be angry. Gradually, the household staff began to respect me, calling me Mrs. Harrison. Even with servants, I'd still cook for him myself, without any of the airs of a rich man's wife. On weekends, we'd go hiking or vacation by the sea. Under my care, he seemed rejuvenated, even his diabetes was under control. Every day, he'd hold me and say he hoped I would give him a son. But I was already 50 and approaching menopause. I even went to the hospital, saw a specialist, and started taking herbal remedies to regulate my body. I asked my daughter for her opinion. At the time, she was too busy feuding with Brandon's old flame. "Mom, having a little brother or sister would be fine," she said casually. "We'd get to inherit more of the assets that way." But I took the traditional medicine and got the modern injections, and then she tells me she's getting a divorce. I rushed over to the new villa to see it one last time. The beautiful marble floors, the luxurious crystal chandelier, the soft leather sofa. This was everything I had ever dreamed of. And now it was about to be taken away from me. Just then, Harrison called. He said the Scandinavian furniture he'd ordered would be delivered in the afternoon. He wanted to celebrate with me tonight and was craving my spicy crab. Tearfully, I said okay. On impulse, I hung up and started walking toward the supermarket. Then my daughter called. "Mom, are you packed? Did you take the jewelry? Gold is worth a fortune right now. Didn't my father-in-law give you some gold bars? Bring them all." It hit me like a ton of bricks. I was getting a divorce. What was I doing, planning to cook dinner? I could have cried at my own stupidity. I went back home. Standing in front of the safe, I was in such a panic that I'd forgotten the combination. Fumbling, I opened my suitcase and started packing some clothes. Just then, Harrison came home from work. He walked into the enormous walk-in closet. Seeing me crouched on the floor, he wrapped his arms around me from behind. "I really married a wonderful wife. We have maids, but you never stop working. The housekeeper said you didn't buy any crabs. Are we not eating at home tonight? I'll take you out for a nice steak dinner." I turned around and forced a smile. "Hey. What's the code for the safe? My brain is so forgetful." He thoughtfully opened it for me, and I started stuffing gold bars into my suitcase. "We're not eating out tonight. My daughter had a miscarriage, and I need to move in with her to take care of her." This was the first time I had ever turned Harrison down. He was a bit surprised but seemed to understand. He sighed and patted my shoulder. "That punk Brandon. When he gets back, I'll give him a piece of my mind for Ashley." I smiled again, faintly. There's no need. They were getting divorced. That night, even though my things were packed, I didn't get to leave. Harrison was in a bad mood and had a few drinks. He kept me up for a long time, talking. He told me about how hard he worked to start his business, how he built his commercial empire against all odds. When he spoke of his first wife, he broke down and cried. Perhaps that was a pain he would never get over. His first love, neglected by him, had run off with another man and died in a car crash on the road. He rushed to the hospital, but on her deathbed, she refused to see him. Who would have thought that a domineering tycoon in his 50s could be so deeply devoted? He said I was a lot like her, gentle, kind, and never demanding. "You won't leave me, will you?" I nodded, my heart heavy with the lie. Suddenly, he was full of energy. He scooped me up, carried me into the bedroom, and pressed me against the bed. "Susan, will you have my child?" "Yes," I whispered. My eyes flickered. Maybe he felt that his stepson, Brandon, was too much to handle. But at my age, getting pregnant was a long shot. Not daring to defy the tycoon's wishes, we went at it all night. He didn't let up until dawn. I had to admit, he was in great shape. He must have been taking all the right supplements. He was still a force to be reckoned with. But I wouldn't betray my daughter. The idea of divorce was firmly planted in my mind. Leaving the silver-haired tycoon would at least save me from the pressure of having a baby, and maybe I'd live a few years longer. It was almost noon before I finally finished packing and rushed over to my daughter's place. Ashley was a little angry. When she saw the hickeys on my neck, she shot me a glare. Mom, you're at that age. Don't you know how to rein it in? Are you really planning to have a baby for my father-in-law? High-risk pregnancies are dangerous, you know. You should think about that. My face turned red, and I turned my head away. I nervously fiddled with a teacup on the table. Oh, come on. I was forced into it. My daughter's eyes widened. That shameless old geezer is such a scumbag. Just like his son, Brandon. Divorce him immediately. We'll run away and start over. My heart was pounding. Could we really do this? 2 sets of divorce papers lay on the table. I knew Ashley was dead serious. Has that punk apologized to you yet? In the past, whenever Brandon made my daughter angry, he'd shower her with flowers and gifts until she was happy again. But this time was different. It was too much. Ashley sighed. An apology is useless. The baby is gone, and he's clearly still hung up on that woman. Anyway, this marriage is over. I'm done. My daughter signed her name on the divorce papers without a second thought. Mom, you're not having second thoughts, are you? I grabbed the other document with a sense of duty and signed my name without hesitation. All the money in the world couldn't compare to my own daughter. Ashley was relieved. She put both sets of papers in a manila envelope and called for a FedEx pickup. By the time the Harrison men received them, we would be long gone from the city. For the next year, my daughter and I traveled the world with our money. We got new phones and cut off all ties to the past. She slowly recovered from that failed relationship. We'd watch the sunset, drinking wine and talking. We bought beautiful clothes and ate at the most expensive French restaurants. It was a life of freedom and happiness. The only thing we didn't touch was love. My daughter started an account on social media, sharing her happy life. Gradually, she began live streaming and selling products. I did everything I could to help her, hoping to see her build her own career. Mom, from now on, we don't rely on men. We rely on ourselves. I graduated from a top university, after all. Making money is the easy part. I smiled and nodded. Of course. Ashley grew more beautiful and earned more and more. Every month, she'd send me money to buy whatever I wanted. But I was used to a hard life. While I never hesitated to spend the tycoon's money, I was careful with my daughters. After all, Europe wasn't like back home. The cost of living was high. I heard that when Brandon received Ashley's divorce papers, he was furious for days. The reason he hadn't come to see her was that he was with his old flame in the US for her medical treatment. Ashley had been pregnant and wanted to surprise him when he got back. But when she called him, that woman answered the phone. That's what made her so angry. She slipped in the bathroom. He had told her he was on a business trip. With things escalating like this, he was branded a cheater. Ashley was the one who had chased him, practically begged him to marry her. But she was also the one to file for divorce first. He was angry for a long time, and by the time he cooled down, he realized she was gone. It wasn't until Harrison came to confront him, slapping him hard across the face, that the reality set in. You little brat. Was some woman on the side really worth it? You drove your own wife away, and you dragged me down with you. His mother had been the one to veto his old flame in the first place. The two had been entangled for a long time, but it never went anywhere. Brandon was a little confused. His stepfather had always been patient with him. Out of guilt for his mother, Harrison had even made him an executive director at the company. Dad, this is all a misunderstanding. There was nothing between me and Jennifer. I didn't cheat. She was sick. It just so happened that a classmate of mine is at a major hospital in the US, so she begged me to take her there. There's really nothing between us. You have to believe me. I swear on my mother's grave. Brandon never imagined Ashley would want a divorce over this. And he had no idea she had been pregnant and had a miscarriage. Harrison slammed a teacup on the table, not wanting to hear any more. He sighed again and again. You find her and you explain yourself, now. Otherwise, get the hell out of the Harrison family. Brandon scratched his head. He was desperate, too. But he couldn't find his wife anywhere. Ashley had thrown away her SIM card and hadn't told any of her friends where she was going. Dad, where's your wife? Can you ask my mother-in-law? Where on earth did Ashley go? He pinned his hopes on Harrison. The tycoon looked up, a picture of misery. Your mom's phone is off, too. She's divorcing me. You little brat, look at the mess you've made. What? Father and son stared at each other, utterly dejected. A year went by. Ashley's business was booming. But I knew that deep down, she still couldn't let go of Brandon. After all, sending divorce papers doesn't mean the divorce is final. The two of them had to go to the records office in person, file an application, and then wait through a mandatory 1-month cooling-off period. Honey, when are we going back home? I asked casually while preparing dinner. My daughter was touching up her makeup. Her hand paused, and a strange light flickered in her eyes. What's the hurry? Let's wait for that idiot Brandon to contact me. I was stunned. We changed our phone numbers. How is he supposed to find you? Ashley tossed her hair nonchalantly. It's a small world. If he really wants to find us, there's always a way. Mom, are you having regrets? Do you want to go back to being a tycoon's wife? I hear my father-in-law has gone crazy looking for you. He really loves you. If you're bored, you can go join a community dance group. There are old men and women making friends every night at the community center. If you're lonely, just go find another one. I was speechless. To be honest, at my age, I just wanted to enjoy life, not wait on some old man. I had saved up all the money my daughter gave me. Worst case, I could buy my own villa later. But it was true that without friends in Europe, it was getting boring. That evening, I actually went to the plaza at the community center. A gentlemanly old man came over to chat. We talked for a little while. Susan. I froze. I turned, my smile stiffening on my face. It was Harrison. He was looking at me with so much affection. He actually found me in Europe. I felt a pang of guilt. I wanted to pretend I didn't know him and walk away. He took 2 steps forward and asked menacingly. What are you doing here? Picking up old men? I immediately chickened out. I quickly put on a sycophantic smile and explained. I was just passing by, I wasn't looking for anyone else. You can ask Ashley if you don't believe me. Just then, Brandon appeared out of nowhere. Mom, where's my wife? What are you guys doing here? At that moment, I wanted the ground to swallow me whole. This was all my daughter's idea. It had nothing to do with me. Harrison, the old geezer, was fuming. He grabbed my arm with all his tycoon authority and pulled me into the car. I shrank into a ball, too scared to speak, just wringing my hands. Why did you throw away your phone? I swallowed hard. Because my daughter was getting a divorce. I had to be with her. Harrison slammed his hand on the armrest. It was that punk Brandon who messed up. His wife running away is his own damn fault, but why did you do this to me? You said you loved me, and now you've changed your mind? You just wanted to find a new old man, didn't you? Since you've been gone, my blood pressure has skyrocketed. You are so cruel. I got anxious and quickly waved my hands. No, I wasn't looking for a new partner, don't get the wrong idea. I was just taking my daughter out to clear her head. We were always going to go back. After all, he had given me a new villa that I hadn't even spent a single night in. I had picked out all the decorations and furniture myself. How could I just hand it over to someone else? You and your precious daughter are quite the pair. You send divorce papers and then disappear. Hiding out in this little European town, living the good life. How nice for you. He was being sarcastic. I kept a fake smile on my face, feeling completely embarrassed. What divorce papers? That was just a joke. Don't take it seriously. When we get back, I'll tear them right up." Harrison suddenly burst out laughing. He looked at me with deep affection, his eyes full of love. Was it a little late to find true love at 50? I had made my peace. I just didn't know if Ashley would agree. Brandon didn't take after his domineering father. The moment he saw Ashley, he fell to his knees. "Honey, I'm so sorry. There was nothing between her and me, it's not what you think. Don't you know how much I love you?" Ashley watched him, her face a mask, as he started slapping his own face, over and over. Before he went to see her, he had asked me, "Mom, what can I do to win her back?" I told him, "My daughter has a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Just be really hard on yourself. If she truly cares about you, she'll give in." But I didn't expect my daughter to be so much more clear-headed than me. She didn't show a hint of softness. She refused to go back home with Brandon. "You lied to me about going on a business trip so you could fly abroad with another woman. I was pregnant, and I fell in the bathroom. Do you have any idea how much I wanted this baby? Brandon, I will never forgive you that easily. Why did you even come looking for me? Just sign the divorce papers and go marry her." I was sweating bullets. If Ashley really got a divorce, what would I do? Brandon sighed. "She's dead. She had a very serious illness, and going to the U.S. didn't help. In fact, she passed away 6 months after you left. I didn't go to her funeral. Her parents scattered her ashes at sea. We did have a past, but that was a long time ago, before I met you. I remember everything about how we met and got married. I know my heart is here, with you. Honey, please, come back with me." The hot-headed young heir had never expressed himself so plainly before. Back then, when Ashley had schemed to marry him, he had been ambivalent at best. This time, he had truly fallen for her. But Ashley was stubborn and still wasn't ready to forgive him easily. In that case, I couldn't do anything either. I couldn't leave my daughter alone overseas. I refused to go back. Harrison got angry. In front of both of us, he started beating Brandon mercilessly with his cane. Welts rose on his body, but Brandon didn't beg for mercy. It hurt me just to watch. A stepfather is still a stepfather, he really didn't hold back. Finally, Ashley's heart softened. She ran over and grabbed Harrison's arm. "Dad, stop. This is my fault, too. I shouldn't have just run away. I made you and Mom separate for a year. If you're angry, take it out on me." For Ashley's sake, Harrison stopped and turned away. Brandon got up and hugged Ashley, moved. "Honey, I knew you wouldn't leave me. Come back with me, and let's live a good life together." Ashley didn't say anything. She just pulled him into the room. After a long pause, she finally spoke. "We're definitely getting a divorce." She was still playing tough. Brandon was at a loss. "I really didn't cheat. Why are you so insistent on a divorce? We lost the baby, but we can have another one. Honey, are you sure you want to lose me? Even though I took her to the U.S. for treatment, I brought back a ton of gifts for you. The new bags, perfumes, jewelry. But I came back to divorce papers. Do you know how angry I was?" Ashley wasn't listening to his explanations. She thought they were all excuses. No matter what, the miscarriage was a fact, his absence was a fact, and her despair was a fact. That night, my daughter sent me a text. "Mom, whatever you decide to do, I respect your choice. But Brandon and I can't get back together. This divorce is final." I was caught in the middle. On one hand, I had promised Harrison I would go back with him and continue our life together. On the other hand, I couldn't bear to leave my daughter. The next day, the 4 of us flew back home together. The mood was tense. Brandon and Ashley were going back to get a divorce. Meanwhile, I was all lovey-dovey with my tycoon, throwing our reconciliation in their faces. Had I betrayed my daughter? On the plane, Harrison's care was meticulous. The moment I shivered, he had the flight attendant bring me a blanket. Even when I took a nap, he held my hand and refused to let go. I kept glancing over at my daughter, feeling a pang of guilt. After all, she was the one who had climbed into the Harrison family first and then pulled me in. I didn't want her to get divorced. In my opinion, the old flame was nothing. Besides, the woman was already dead. There was no point in competing with a dead person. The happiness right in front of you is what matters. But Ashley was still furious. She wouldn't listen to my advice and was determined to divorce. I understood. She had lost her first child, and Brandon, the clueless man, actually thought they could just have another one. After we landed, Ashley ignored him and was about to check into a hotel. I was torn and worried. Harrison saw this and spoke up. "Ashley, even if you decide to divorce Brandon, to me, you're just going from my daughter-in-law to my daughter. Come home and stay with your mom." Ashley thought about it. Her mother had remarried a super rich man. If she divorced, she would become Harrison's stepdaughter. Her relationship with Brandon would just change from husband and wife to brother and sister. It was a novel idea. She agreed to go back with me. She and Brandon arranged to go to the records office first thing the next morning to file for divorce. The next day, I waited with her until 10 a.m. Brandon was late. He was clearly reluctant, but he still signed the application. The cooling-off period was 1 month. During this time, we shouldn't see each other. We'll come back in a month to get the final papers. Brandon ignored her and walked away. But that evening, he showed up at our house. For the entire month, he came for dinner every day, finding any excuse to see Ashley. The two of them wouldn't speak, locked in a silent standoff. It was painful to watch. A month passed quickly. On the day they were supposed to finalize the divorce, that punk was a no-show. I silently cheered. Ashley waited furiously until the office closed, then made a round of calls. It turned out he had locked himself at home and been drinking all day. He didn't want the divorce. We rushed to his house and found him flushed and lying on the floor, empty bottles scattered around him. Ashley was both angry and worried. Brandon, are you a man or not? Get up." We called the driver, and together we managed to get him to the hospital. He was put on in 4. Ashley sat by his bed, and her eyes were filled with unmistakable love. She still loved him. All this drama with my daughter and son-in-law had left me exhausted. The smell of disinfectant in the hospital made me gag. "Mom, can you go home and make some chicken soup and bring it back?" I nodded, turned to leave, and promptly collapsed on the floor. The dream was long and terrifying. I saw Ashley's gambling-addicted father. I woke up in a cold sweat. Ashley and Harrison were both there. Their eyes held a mix of joy and concern. I sat up, confused. After decades of waiting on others, I'd always been strong as an ox. Why did I suddenly faint? Did I have some serious illness? "Mom, congratulations." I was baffled. "I don't know if you're giving me a little brother or a little sister," Ashley added. Harrison was beaming. "The doctor just said it's twins. It might be a boy and a girl." I was stunned. What did that mean? Brandon started lavishing praise on the old man. "Dad, you've still got it. All those supplements paid off." Ashley said, "Mom, if I'd known you were pregnant, I wouldn't have dragged you all over the world with me. The doctor says you need to rest. Don't do anything to risk the babies." Oh my God. I was actually pregnant. At 50 years old, an age when I should be becoming a grandmother. And with twins, no less. I was so embarrassed. The tycoon was grinning from ear to ear. My daughter was so busy taking care of me that she forgot all about divorcing that punk Brandon. The pregnancy was very difficult. Thankfully, we had maids at home. I didn't have to do any housework. They wouldn't let me lift a finger. My days were filled with gentle walks, eating, drinking, and sunbathing. 9 months flew by. A high-risk pregnancy is dangerous, so I had more and more hospital visits toward the end, but Harrison, that old codger, was with me every time. My daughter was also very attentive. Perhaps for my sake, she said she would give Brandon one more chance, a trial period. The day I went into labor, the whole family was there. Harrison had arranged for the best doctors. The C-section was quick. 2 sons were born. I cried, but my heart was full of joy. To think that at my age, almost ready for the grave, I could have both a daughter and sons. Harrison was even happier. He never imagined he could have 2 biological sons at his age. The corporation and his billions finally had heirs. He bought me another priceless mansion as a reward. He knew I loved houses, not jewelry. On the day of the twins' 1-month celebration, my daughter and son-in-law arrived holding hands. I knew they had reconciled. A happy family makes for a happy life, and everything was going to be all right.